tower by which you enter the market from either side, it creates two front doors, if you will, or two front portals to get to the front door of the market. And in doing so, I think it serves the most potential arrivers as possible. For people coming from Beekman Avenue, earlier in our presentation or in our discussions with the planning board, there was a request to add a stair down from Beekman Avenue so that people could get to that entry directly as opposed to going around the corner to come in this entry or even to come in at this end. So I think an effort has been made in the site planning to accommodate as many modes of entry as possible while creating a building that has a presence at this very important corner at the bottom of Beekman and the beginning of Edge on Hudson.
Right.
Andy,
So,
on here, Andy, can you
hang on, John,
show
one
exactly
second.
where that corner is? Andy, show where the corner in question is.
Yeah.
So any members of the public can see. It's there, and that's where the glass element of the store will be.
right. So
Yeah, we also, one thing too, why the building just became and grew into this design was because the second and third floor from that area, we think we're gonna have some river views, and by having the checkouts in the front of the store on that side, we just didn't think that was, it would be worthwhile to have the checkouts have a river view, whereas we could have a beautiful eating area on the second and third floor where you could have a bar area, be walking outside and have the beautiful river views. And that was really why we tried to maximize that corner to have our customers have the best view possible, enjoy the best view possible when they're relaxing, as opposed to when they're shopping. So that's kind of also why, this design grew to that level in that location.
And also the fact that, this is not at street level, right? It's down. So it's not like it would be kind of Beekman facing immediately anyway. But it sounds like if you guys had just said beer garden, you would have answered Jared's question.
Why use one word when you can use 3,000?
And we also have this. We also have the sewer easement too around that area too that we can't go on top of and we can't go near, and that's why the building had to step back and have all the steps in it. Basically, it was to deal with that sewer easement from the county. That so that was another reason too.
So the comment is some level of permeability there would be good, right? Landscaping this doesn't seem like that's an ideal opportunity to engage with Beekman. I mean, it's not a traffic conduit right now. There's a lot of pedestrian activity and there's nothing there. So it's the primary pedestrian access route, right? East-west access route in Sleepy Hollow. And it has the highest pedestrian counts, outside of the Esplanade. So, having some level of exit entrance there to the beer garden, I think is fantastic. And I was able to make myself familiar with the renderings and they look great. So
thanks, Jared.
Yeah. So I think you answered my question. Thank you.
Cool.
Great.
Thanks, Jared. Good to see you again, by the way.
Hey, thanks for your comments, Jared. Are there any other members of the public? Well, thanks for adjusting the site plan to remove the North Market Retail Building. And I understand we also have the architectural diagrams at this point, and we've thoroughly reviewed the outdoor features. I believe we're comfortable with moving to a resolution which has been shared in draft format with the applicant. Any other concerns, comments? If not, I will ask David Smith to review the draft resolution.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So a draft resolution was circulated to the board and to the applicant yesterday. The applicant came back with some minor revisions, which have been shared with the planning board, reflecting the discussions that we've had tonight, and also reflecting the additional materials which were presented at the last meeting but have been formally submitted as part of the record now. So you have a resolution. The one condition that has been removed was condition, I believe, 19, which referenced the on-street loading zone. So you essentially have the resolution for adoption before you. Many of the conditions are conditions that have been consistent with other applications before your board with Edge on Hudson. So I don't know if you want me to read through all of the conditions, but they're rather lengthy, and I think you have them before you. So I think you have the resolution for consideration.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I move to adopt said resolution.
You may want to close the public hearing first.
Okay. I move to close the public hearing. Can I get a second?
Seconded.
Tom has seconded it. And then all in favor, Matt,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Kirsten? Okay, thank you. So public hearing is closed. Now we move to, I move to adopt the resolution. Can I get a second?
I second it.
Matt has seconded it. Kirsten? Tom?
Aye.
Ed, are you there?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Unanimously adopted the resolution, so the Chico's portion of the Block A can proceed. Welcome to Sleepy Hollow.
And
Thank
we all look forward to having a glass on your beer garden.
Thank you.
So, hey, so Mr. Chico, get
You guys
going.
will get the first glass.
Okay, let's go.
Planning board gets the first visit.
Can't wait. Can't wait, believe.
Thank you very
everybody.
much, everyone. And Tom and Jared, congratulations on your election to the village board.
Thank you, Peter.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thanks,
Excellent.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. All right, we'll just move right into Block E then, since we've got all the same audience. This is a preliminary discussion for an amended site plan. Who's going to kick this off? Mr. Tung?
Good evening again, Madam Chair, members of the board. Andrew Tung from Divney Tung Schwalbe. Here tonight on behalf of Edge on Hudson and also LL Parcel E, LLC, otherwise known as Toll Brothers, for Block E. If I may, I'm here tonight with representatives of Toll Brothers, as well as their architects, KTGY. And this is an application for a site plan amendment for Block E. If I may share my screen. So this is a photo from last week or about 10 days ago of Block E. As you may recall, it was part of phase one, three 4-story townhome buildings west of Block I, which are the 3 brick buildings you see on the diagonally across the top of the page, and south of Block J, the townhome buildings, about 5 acres in size. The building that has the green insulation board is I1. You see the foundations for I2 here in the right foreground, and the site for I3 here on the left-hand side. And that fronts on Tappan Zee Park.
Andy, I think it's E, right?
Yes. Did I see E? Did
You
I
were
say
saying I, so you must
Oh.
have had the same thing I had for dinner.
Well, this is Block I at the back. Block E is here, and I misspoke. It's 1.7 acres. Block A was 5 acres, sorry. So this site plan amendment has no changes to the buildings, no changes to the parking and circulation. The drawing package that we submitted to the board this month includes side-by-side comparisons of each of the plans. This is the layout plan with the approved plan on the left and the proposed plan on the right. There are basically three types of changes that are proposed, all around the perimeter of the site. The markings in yellow, which are for the frontage ground floor units of block building E1 and the units that face onto Tappan Zee Park in E3 are to replace former planting strips at the front of those buildings with ground floor patios to provide outdoor space for those future residents. The second set of changes, and I'll go back to these after I go through them all. The second set of changes have to do with the low decorative stone and bluestone capped walls that are both in Block J and Block I, and also here in Block E. We call them Washington walls. And they run around the perimeter of the buildings and the now to be patios. And they also, in the approved plan, flanked the two driveways coming in from Legend Drive here. There was a stretch of wall here, a stretch of wall here, and also coming in off of Horseman, there was a piece of wall here and here. And for a variety of reasons, one of the prime reasons being a Con Ed transformer located at the southeast corner of Block I, we're proposing to remove those walls, which interrupt both with the transformer access and other utilities, and replace them with evergreen hedges everywhere except right in front of the transformer. And I'll speak to that in a moment. The third set of amendments relate also to Con Edison, our favorite utility, and the means by which the gas meters will be provided for each of these buildings. Earlier in our discussions with Con Ed, it appeared that we were looking at potentially putting individual gas meters within the buildings for each of the units. Over the past several months, Con Ed has determined that that will not be possible, and they wish to have all the gas meters outside. Each of these buildings has between 14 and 17 units, so that they are, as we've seen in Block J, even with a single gas meter, it's not the most attractive utility you can see. So what we have, what the architects have designed are an alcove within each building where this brown label is, which acts as an extension of the building wall to create an alcove within which the gas meters can be mounted. We are still awaiting Con Ed's final determination on this. We believe we've met the requirements for ganging the meters. They do have in multifamily developments guidelines for how much spacing there is between units, both sideways and one on top of the other. In this case, there will be two rows of two gas meters. We believe we've met those, but we're still trying to get that final confirmation from Con Ed. But we believe this is the best architectural solution that we can propose to you. So as I mentioned, these are all three types of changes do not affect the building, do not affect the layout or the circulation. We're hoping to be able to review them with you and get your concurrence that they make sense and that we can potentially move forward with them. So if we circle back then and first start with the ground floor patios, and let's go here. So this is a blow-up plan, architectural plan of the frontage along Legend Drive. And previously in the approved plan, the space between the Washington wall and the front of the units was a raised plant bed. What we're currently proposing, not unlike what was discussed with the planning board at Block J, is to provide a small amount of outside area for the residents at the ground floor within that space. And so we're proposing for building E1 as it fronts Legend Drive and E3 as it fronts Tappan Zee Park to allow for that planting area to now become a patio. There will be still planting to separate patios between adjacent units or to flank the primary entry on Legend Drive, but otherwise this would be a usable patio for those residents. For the end unit, it has a little bit more space on the end. That patio can wrap around. Where we have the space, it would be flanked by planting this side of the Washington wall, but where on the narrow side is just about 3'10", just under 4 feet between here and here. So we didn't see a way to get an adequate plant bed and still have some space for outdoor use in those locations. I'll just go back to the plan for a moment. So that, and let me zoom in a little bit here. So that first figure I showed is along Legend Drive, where the units front on Legend Drive. The second graphic is where I showed the patio wrapping around the corner. That would be similar on building E3. This would just be a linear patio, and at this unit, it would wrap around the corner. Any questions on that component? The next component is I like to talk about are the gas meters. So what the architects have proposed, and this is left to right, we're looking at E3, E2, and E1. All of these alcoves, and here's an alcove here, here's another alcove, and here's a third alcove. All these alcoves are proposed to be made of the same material as the adjoining building, that is clad in brick and finished off in using the same material as the adjoining building. Behind the alcove on the wall we're proposing to mount those gas meters. They require to have a little certain spacing between each one. And in most cases, they would be stacked too high so that, for instance, E3 will have, there are 7, 8, I think there are 15 units in 14 or 15 units in E3, so that generally they'd be 2 stacked high, which is why they have to be approximately 6 to 8 feet high to make up for the change in grade, and also to provide the adequate spacing for Con Ed for the meters that are mounted behind this wall. A similar manner, an alcove was designed for E2 and for E3. If we go to the larger scale and look at that in the context of the full building elevations, you can see that the architects have managed, I believe, to make them seem like another element in the varying planes of the building, and they've worked them into the rhythm of the facade in a way that if you're walking by, much the same way that the street screens, which were identified in the design guidelines as a means of using screen walls to block, in that case, service areas or parking areas from the street as you walk by. I think that this is a fairly elegant solution, not having designed it myself, but I think it's an elegant solution to how do we hide the gas meters from view while still meeting Con Ed's requirements. As I mentioned, we are still waiting for Con Ed to confirm this. If for some reason they cannot approve this or something very much similar to this, then we would have to come back to the board to revisit another solution. But
What was the space, Andy, before it became a gas meter alcove on each of these 3 buildings?
Let me go to the plan. I think they were planting areas.
Okay.
I can go back to here. And so in this case, let's see if I can see both at the same time. Yeah. So here it was a widened walkway. I think we cheated a little bit into this planting area to expand this to create the alcove. Down here, yes, we cheated a little bit on the planting area to provide for that. And these are at secondary entries. The main entries to each of these buildings are at the center of the buildings. So they were either paving and or plant areas.
Okay. And so these buildings are all 100% gas. So I understand they're luxury condos, but all the features are gas fed for heat and cooking and drying and
Rob, can you help me with that? Rob Dowd from Toll Brothers is here with us.
Hi, Rob Dow with Toll Brothers. Yes, that's correct. It's for cooking. We have the gas for the furnaces and all the utilities.
has there been any attempt to kind of mitigate the gas consumption for these buildings?
We tried with Con Ed. Unfortunately, the size of the buildings, we have to use these size of meters. That was a process that we went through for about 6 months with them. We supplied them with every single appliance that we're going to use in these buildings, and they did a total gas consumption. So we did that whole analysis.
Yeah, I guess on the demand side, was there any attempt to, lessen the gas requirement? So for instance, induction cooktops instead of gas cooktops.
We did try that. We did try to control the type of appliances that our buyers are going to be using in these units. Some of them are gas fueled, electric. It's like, so kind of helps it, the load on it, but we did. And the units are not that big. So the type of appliances, they're limited to what they can really use. They can't get a 48-inch cooktop in there, like a Wolf standalone, like you would do in a single family home.
Yeah, I think there are some induction cooktop options even in the high-end appliances now. Anyone else have any questions?
Nothing from me, Marjorie, but I was intending to mention the same thing you just did, and wondering if there was more consideration for alternative energy, whether it's electric or, I guess it would almost have to be electric there, alternative sources. But it was answered.
Yep. And when are you expecting the Con Ed sign off? I know it's been a long time coming.
We expect to have something from them, hopefully by next week or the week after. They were concerned with the wall that we're building them on, that there was settlement. We proved that that we're going to put a pile underneath it. It's attached to the building, structurally be sound. So we submitted that back to them. We're just waiting for them to get back to us. So I hope to get an answer from them next week or the week after.
Okay, and Jared has another question in the chat. Is there a concern gas condos might have difficulty as New York State bans gas via its Climate Leadership and Community Preservation Act? This would be the homeowner's concern over the next 15 years.
Madam Chair, I'm not familiar with how that would affect existing homeowners. We know that certain of our projects have been faced with the gas moratorium. Other projects who have applied prior to cutoff were able to access new gas service. If this was to affect new homeowners, I expect it would affect all homeowners in the same manner. I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer to that specific question.
Jared, do you want to unmute and just explain specifically, because I'm not totally understanding your question either.
Sure. So within the next 15 to 20 years, gas-fired appliances will be phased out. So assuming the appliance makes its way to the end of its useful life, you'd no longer be able to replace that appliance with a gas-fired appliance. And that's for stoves, domestic hot water, gas furnaces, etc. So New York State has to meet very strict climate reductions over the coming 20 and 30 years. So the gas-fired appliance ban is likely to come in within the next 15 years. So I guess that being said, are the units forced air? Are they gas-fired furnaces and forced air, or is it hydronic distribution in the unit?
Yeah, Pat, you want to explain the heating units? Sandra?
Sandra, are you on?
This is
I know my
KGY.
name-
Yeah.
I know my name says Sandra, but Patricia Booker. I don't know what's going on with the name. Sandra, are you on?
While we wait for the other Sandra, the the Climate Leadership and Community Preservation Act basically says that by the year 2040, all electrification has to be carbon neutral. And then by 2050, the entire economy needs to be carbon neutral as well. So I personally don't know what that means for individual homeowners. So if everyone's going to be scrambling to replace all their gas appliances, or if there's, grandfathering, but I haven't read the act to that level of detail. So
I could say this, it's Rob Dow with Toll Brothers. All our customers prefer gas, and we build a lot of communities around this area in Westchester. It's still a very high demand to go with gas appliances over electric.
Yeah, for gas cooking, correct? Is that you were referencing gas cooking? Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Is Sandra on?
Yes, I was mute, sorry.
Can you answer their question about our heating systems, please?
Yeah, this is a split system. Patty, I don't know, you can explain a little bit better than me. Yeah, let me pull up the exact system. If we can go on to the next question, and then I can circle back on that.
I also always had a bias for gas cooktops, but one of the homes we rented while vacationing in Iceland was an induction cooktop, and it was incredibly quick to boil and quick to cool, and it's a flat surface, so it's much easier to clean. So I've been converted myself. It just doesn't come in a six cooktop configuration thus far. So it's a very attractive option, I think, especially for high-end homes. Patricia, Sandra, Pat, does anyone have the diagrams?
Yeah, I'm still looking for that information. Sorry, I didn't have it pulled up and ready to go.
While Patricia's looking, I can go back to the third element.
Yes, please.
Yes. So this was the removal of the Washington walls at the two vehicular entries here off Horseman Boulevard and off of Legends. As I'm going to borrow this, this is the Washington Wall, basically stone faced with a bluestone cap. And for utility reasons, particularly the location of the transformer here, the Con Ed requires a 10-foot open area in front of the front panel of the transformer. And I have a photograph of the transformer here. So this is the corner. This is the Legend Drive and the driveway in from there. So this transformer, as we've seen in other locations, needs 10-foot clear at the front of any obstruction. And that meant that the wall that was started here, you can see it on the right-hand side, cannot come across the front of the transformer because of it doesn't meet the clearance requirements. Con Ed requires 10 feet at the front and 3 feet clear around all sides for any vertical elements. So what we're proposing to do alternatively to provide that edge of the street wall, if you will, at the sidewalk level, is to where the wall ends about here, to continue that with a hedge, a 3-foot evergreen hedge to this point, and then pick it up at the corner and wrap it around the corner there. There'll also be an evergreen tree in this corner and a street tree also in this location. So the this transformer is actually backed up by a garage structure, so it's not to reduce its view, at least from one vantage point, and we're doing what we can to use landscaping to screen it from other vantage points. That we would propose to do the same treatment. So we're removing the wall here because of the transformer. We would propose to match the hedge treatment so that that's symmetrical on both sides of this entry drive and also on this entry drive. There was no wall at this location, or there was only a stub of a wall at the side of the garage. So that's been also removed with the final design of the garage. So the street wall along the sidewalk will be maintained by a hedge in those 3 locations as opposed to a wall, a 2-foot wall. Sandra, how you doing? Patricia, how you doing?
Yeah, I pulled up the spec. So we're using these First Company gas air handlers that also will be the water heaters as well, and heat the water for that space. And then we have the condensers up on the roof.
So it's forced air cooling and heating in ductwork, gas-fired furnace.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Sure. Sorry, that took a little bit of time to pull up.
No worries. Thank you.
The extent of the, yeah. Madam Chair, that's the extent of our proposed amendments. Be happy to answer any questions that we can.
Okay. I think the patio feature is actually a nice change. So there'll be some additional outdoor seating area at street level. And then I guess for people that really want plantings, they can put planters there or whatever. And
We
then,
did receive, I'm sorry, we did receive a memo from Mr. Natarelli. Mark Gratz spoke to him this afternoon, and his questions related to how the patios, for instance, would connect into the site drainage system, and we can certainly supply those details.
okay, great.
Given the nature of these types of changes or the level of changes, we were hoping that the planning board might, as it did for Block I, not require a public hearing, and in fact, if appropriate, and if you're comfortable with these changes, might be able to act on them this evening. A condition, of course, on Con Ed approving the alcoves for the gas meters. As the toll is trying to finish up these various site elements, building E1 is very popular, and building E2 is coming right behind. So if that's something you might consider, I know the applicant would appreciate that greatly.
Yeah, if you dialed in early to our work session, that was what we were discussing as far as procedures. And it seems that we're amenable to it, and our council was comfortable with that approach. So I think we're good with handling just an amended site plan. Is that accurate, Sean Clinton?
That's correct. I don't think a public hearing would be necessary in this application.
Okay. One question I had was, when do we expect the C of Os, assuming Con Ed responds in the next 2 weeks and everything else proceeds? What's best case scenario?
I could speak to that. It's Rob Dow with Toll Brothers. We are behind schedule. We wanted to close this building by April, but we're behind. We're getting close. We're getting ready to do drywall soon. We have a insulation inspection coming up for Sean and a fire suppression, and then we'll be through those inspections on the 3rd and 2nd floor. If everything goes good with Con Edison and we can get the drywall, we're hoping that we can close this building June, July this year. We have the paving done, the exterior bricks going well, the siding. That's all right now. So.
Okay, so June or July is your target.
Yes.
I just had a question of curiosity regarding the sales, I guess, of those units. Are they all accounted for, or what percent has been purchased thus far?
I could speak to that. It's Rob Dow with Toll Brothers. So building 1 is all sold out. We have 1 unit we were using as a model, so we're holding that purposely. Building 2, everything's accounted for. We have 1 left in deposit, and building 3, we haven't opened for sale yet. And there's total 46 lots. So building 1 is pretty much sold out. Building 2 is pretty much sold out, and we haven't opened E3 yet, but we have a waiting list. People interested.
So given that you have a waiting list, why hasn't building 3 been?
Well, we wanted to, we just had a nice surge on E2. We are getting ready to start framing that. We just poured the foundation. We're gonna bring lumber in. We also have to be a little careful on deliveries, when we deliver these buildings. So Greg, our site guy, is getting ready to start piling the next building. We haven't piled yet, so it's coming up. We'll probably start preparing to open that next building for sale. But if you open them up too early, you got to be able to deliver them, in a certain time frame for our customers.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
All right. So, Clinton?
Well, if the board is inclined to act tonight, I can frame a resolution quickly. Or you can wait until the next meeting and David and I can prepare one.
I guess whatever is most expedient.
Most expedient is for there to be a motion to approve the site plan amendments subject to Con Ed approval with respect to the gas meters and the alcoves. And also, Andy, I'm not sure, do you need Con Ed sign off on the hedge and opening, or do you have that already?
Not as long as we meet their requirements of 10 feet from the front and 3 feet from the sides, which we would.
All right, so the only subject to would be Con Ed sign off on the gas meters and walls.
Okay. Sean,
And
any,
I was going to say, and James has an outstanding memo that needs to be responded to. So that would be one of the conditions.
Thanks, David. Yep.
right, the piping to the street?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
Madam Chair, as part of the, just in reference back to what you did for Block I, there was one of the resolve clauses that you reviewed the entire record in relation to the special permit, the Riverfront Development Concept Plan, the Phase 1 Block E site plan approval, and that you determined based on Section 450-16D of the Village Code that the proposed action includes minor site plan adjustments to the approved plan. So that's the particular section of the code that where you've evaluated based on the material submitted, the presentation by Mr. Tung and Toll, that the modifications to the site plan are minor enough where you don't need to go through the formal process of having a public hearing. So the other Mr. Smith and I can certainly frame out a resolution for you to sign, but I think that's in sum and substance what the planning board would like to act on tonight. Clinton, I don't know if you have anything in addition, but.
No.
Okay, so I guess we can move to adopt the resolution as described by the Mr. Smiths.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I get a
Seconded.
second? Okay,
Yep.
Tom has seconded it. Ed,
Aye.
Matt? I think you're muted.
Aye.
Kirsten?
Aye.
Okay, so the amended site plan resolution has been accepted, passed.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the board.
Thank you.
Yes, Rob Dow with Toll Brothers. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Okay, we're looking forward to those condos getting occupied.
Yes, very soon. So are we. Thank you very much.
Okay, have a good night.
You too.
No.
Okay, Mr. Dandridge and Ms. Perkins, 7 Birch Close, proposed additions and alterations and a wetlands watercourse permit. I move to reopen the public hearing.
Seconded.
Tom has seconded it. Ed,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Kirsten,
Aye.
okay. Mr. Koch?
Hi, I can't see myself, but I assume that you can, correct?
Yes, we can
Great.
see you.
Hi, thank you again for your service to the community. We're here, we've supplemented our submittal with a mitigation plan of plantings that Beth Evans can describe in brief. I've submitted a drawing showing lighting and some information about finishes. And finally, Mike Stein will talk to the issues of the dry wells and the stormwater management. I know that they dug some pits, found out that the geology is mostly sand, so it's not going to require as many dry wells as we had anticipated. So that's all good news. So if I don't want to waste any time, so if I could just turn it over to Beth Evans, and I'll share my screen, which has her mitigation plan on it, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Here we go. Sorry. Beth, are you there?
I am here. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. As requested, we have prepared a planting plan for the proposed project, which recaptures a portion of the wetland buffer with native plantings and provides enhanced buffer habitat, in our opinion, between the proposed deck and house and the steep bluff that goes down to the wetland. And this plan was prepared to show approximately 2,500 square feet of plantings for what is currently either a bluestone patio or lawn.
Okay.
And are these all natives?
They are all natives. We're careful to make sure that we're proposing plants that will thrive in this area and provide habitat for birds, insects, and other creatures that may be using this wetland adjacent area.
I can enlarge the plant list if you want to take a quick look at it. Just let me know if I should.
Sure.
Well, let's see. Okay, Beth.
So these are native trees and shrubs, as well as some forbs that we believe will thrive in this area and provide a nice enhancement to the buffer. And Ed and Karen reviewed this plan and were very pleased with it because they had hoped to provide planting along the edge of the top of the bluff, where there's now just pretty much unkempt lawn.
Okay, very nice. Thank you.
Thanks, Beth. Briefly, I'm going to just bring us to elevations and plans I prepared for lighting on the riverside. You can see a few points of light, not a ton of spotlighting or anything, just some wall sconces, a fan unit on the dining porch, and some recessed lighting under this balcony and under the eaves above. It's pretty minimal, but should be sufficient for enjoying the space. So I don't know if there's any questions about that. Let me know. Otherwise, I'm gonna ask Mike Stein to speak.
No question from me.
Anybody?
In our capacity as the Architectural Review Board, it looks like you've got some color samples. Have you selected the final
Well, this
aesthetics?
This is where we are right now. Thank you for bringing that up. We're really looking at a very quiet palette of gray and with white trim, and the windows will be white. And the essentially all the trim on the house will be white, and the deck itself would be a gray decking, probably ashwood by TimberTech, and the posts and the fascia of the deck would be a cedar finish. So it's a lot like the neighbors, frankly. So that's where we're at right now. We're looking at a couple different siding systems around. You can just look at these really briefly. Honestly, it's lap siding and panel siding. And if we get back to this image at the rear of the property, you can see that I've interposed this kind of very modern glazing systems up and down between the existing more traditional clapboard siding, which wraps the side of the house and goes around to the front of the house. And I think we're talking about introducing just a note of that modern panelized thing at the front door only. Otherwise, it would be clapboard. That's where it is right now.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, are you there?
Yes.
If you wanted to address some of the results of the pits and.
Sure. If you want to unshare a screen, I'll bring up our drawing.
I'm going to get off.
Good evening again, Michael Stein with Hudson Engineering. Since the last meeting, we had actually had the opportunity to go out and do the field testing. We got down in the test pit in the rear where the work is going on to a depth of over 8 feet, and we had a very substantial percolation rate, over 60 inches per hour. Therefore, we've modified and updated our stormwater mitigation plan and our design based upon those results. We received the 2 comments, or the review comments from Dolph Rothfeld's office, and the comments are relatively minor to put on hoods for water quality on the inlets, and also about collecting the front covered porch and the side addition. Typically what we do in this instance is we've taken a comparable roof area, so we're not trying to pinpoint small areas. We can take in, and again, the percolation rates were very substantial. So there's no concerns about being able to provide the mitigation required.
If I could just clarify that comment for a second, Michael, that was basically just to show how the runoff from those roofed areas are going to be handled. If they're going to be collected in gutters and downspouts, where are they projected to go, and how will they connect into the existing system, or are you planning something different for those?
Sure.
I mean, I'm confident, based on what we saw, because we witnessed those perk tests. I agree, you have great perk out there, and you can handle whatever you need to in your drywalls. It's just a matter of, for those 2 roof areas, how will they be collected to minimize erosion?
And which is not a problem. We're happy to work with Mr. Natarelli to address those comments, and are confident that we can.
Okay, terrific. And anticipating that you would be able to address those concerns, I asked David Smith to prepare a draft resolution unless other people have any other questions. Okay. David, do you want to share some of the highlights of the resolution?
Yes.
I'm sorry, let me stop sharing.
So the planning board was provided with a draft resolution, which includes all of the materials, including the materials just recently submitted. This is for a wetlands and watercourse approval. There are 4 conditions on the resolution. One, the applicant shall pay the Village of Sleepy Hollow all application review fees as required by the village code prior to the building permit being issued. Compliance with Chapter 418-14 of the Sleepy Hollow Code. Documentation sufficient in form and substance for the village engineer that the list of items outlined in the village engineer's March 12, 2021 correspondence have been responded to or incorporated onto the site plan drawings. And 4, prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, an as-built survey shall be provided to the village building department. And any material change to the plan from that approved by the planning board will require the applicant to present the revised plan to the planning board for a site plan amendment. That's what currently before your board.
Okay, thank you. So I move to close the public hearing. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Matt has seconded it. Tom?
Yep, aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Kirsten?
Aye.
Okay. And I move to adopt the resolution as read by Mr. Smith.
Second.
Kirsten seconds. Ed?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Okay, so welcome to Sleepy Hollow. Looks like a lot of progress has already been made as far as the demolition. So good luck with the rest of your project.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
You too. Okay, next is a preliminary presentation of 650 Riverside. It's a pool being proposed, and so similar wetlands and watercourse permit and a site plan approval.
And the floodplain, we have, this is Ralph Perigine, Provident Design, a floodplain. We also checked that box on the application.
Okay, thank you. And who is presenting?
That would be me, Ralph Perigine, Senior Project Manager with Provident Design Engineering. Can I share my screen now? Is that possible? Have I been given rights? All right. See if I can. So, and let me just find the site plans here for a second. I don't know why it's taking a little second there to come up, but here we go. So this is a family pool for the Moskowitz family located at 650 Riverside Drive. We have sited the pool in such a manner as to the rear of the house, but also we've tried to keep it as close to the residents as possible to minimize impacts to the existing wetlands buffer as well as the zone FEMA floodplain line. As you can see here, this is the FEMA floodplain line, which designates a zone A versus a zone X. The zone A is not a defined elevation, but we utilize the elevation of the adjacent Hudson River as elevation 7 as our design parameter. And the pool, so as such, we have placed the pool deck at a couple of feet higher than that to keep it out of the floodplain. In conjunction with the pool, there'll be a patio in this area here, which would be a paved patio of concrete or pavers, or I can let the landscape architect go into that in more detail. On this side will be a grass area with some grass steps going down, and then a small retaining wall that's mostly decorative, but it does have to retain the 2 foot of grade differential that we're at, the 2 to 3 feet of grade differential that we're creating by raising the pool above the floodplain. And then adjacent to that, we're replacing some planter beds and expanding the gravel. There's an existing gravel patio in this area. We're expanding it about 10 feet. And then in addition to all of that, the applicant is also proposing to put an emergency generator here. I'm not sure the type and size is yet to be specified, but we figured while we're here, we might as well show you that location. Around the entire patio, there will be a fence along the property line here. And then what we did here is, this is the existing wetlands boundary line. We didn't want to cross into the wetlands with the fence, so we kept it out of the wetlands, parallel to it, a couple feet off, and a gate will be provided in this area for maintenance access of this portion of the applicant's property. So we've shown the grading here, but we also showed some stormwater detention systems on this concept. We did get James Natarelli's comments about the design of the 100-year design storm for this. And we won't be able to tell to what degree we'll be able to provide drainage, infiltration and/or mitigation for that 100-year storm, or less, depending until we perform the infiltration and percolation tests. Those are being scheduled to be performed in the next few weeks. So drainage from the pool deck is going to go into this system here with an overflow or a discharge that would go towards the existing stream. The contractor would be staged on the existing driveway in this location. I believe our project narrative has provided quite a bit of detail. I don't know if you want me to cover anything else, but I'm open for questions from the board. We do have, if you want, I can show you Jan Jansen is on, and she has done a landscape plan. I can put that up as well. So Jan has, in response to Dave Smith's comments, the plantings have been amended to be more native species. Sorry, I'm trying to find that list. Give me 1 second. And also in response to Dave Smith's comment, he requested a visual of the fence to be proposed. This is the fence we will be submitting more detail on this. This is the fence that's being proposed in the color. And I don't want to go into detail on the species, but Beth Evans will review this on our behalf. She's the wetlands consultant, and I'm sure she will be reviewing this with Jan to ensure that there's that native species and native wetlands plantings component that Dave Smith had mentioned in his review. Any questions?
You had mentioned a floodplain plan.
I mentioned, yes, I said that not a plan, but permit. This project, since portion of the work is within Zone A, under the village code, it requires a floodplain, what is that? Flood development?
Yeah.
Flood damage prevention permit, excuse me. So the flood boundary is this line right here. So about half of the improvement is in the zone A. That would be 2,700, roughly 2,700 square feet. That would be within the zone A boundary.
Okay. So there'll be an environmental assessment and all of that. And James, do you have any additional comments beyond that which you shared with the applicant?
No, I think that's it. Ralph and I spoke earlier this week. And I think, he and I are on the same page about what, the next steps that he's going to take in his design. Just to clarify one thing on the floodplain development part of the application, just take a look at the code. There's an analysis that's required as part of it. And I think it should be pretty straightforward looking at this application. But if you have any questions about it, don't hesitate to reach out.
Well, I did in the project narrative put a brief description of the zone A and our assumptions for the elevation in there. I don't know if that's what you needed.
I'll have to check that out, but there's one part of the code, and I don't want to get too much into the weeds here, but there's one part of the code that requires that you show an analysis showing that whatever development happens in the floodplain doesn't raise the flood elevation more than, I think it's a foot, which I know you're not going to do, but you still need to go ahead and show us that. With your analysis.
Well, yeah, understood, James. It's this, you and I both know it's going to be a extremely nominal impact on the.
I agree, but that's what I'm saying. As you start to look at it, if you want to reach out and have any questions,
And I will add
I don't
that.
think,
Okay, I will add that to the project narrative. I'll talk to you and we'll add that to the project narrative.
very good.
And did you mention a mitigation plan, or did I not hear it, or?
Well, I said with the planting plan, we will be amending it so that the plantings that are being proposed will be wetlands species and native species, and that's to be finalized. What I just presented a few minutes ago was not what was submitted. What was submitted was some non-natives and not necessarily wetlands species. So that is something we will be amending. This presentation, if you want, I can put it back up. Some of the shrubbery in the wetland buffer here will be planted as native and or wetlands type plantings. We don't want, right now, the existing property out beyond our limit of disturbance, this is all lawn right now with a few over pretty significant sized trees. We don't want to go into that and start just creating more disturbed area. We were trying to limit our disturbed area by, to the extent practical in here. So we would like to, we're trying to do our mitigation within the area of disturbance that we've currently identified.
Yeah, listen, I would advise, the regulations require that you need to provide mitigation for any disturbance within the wetland buffer. And Ms. Evans she was just here on the prior application, and she's worked on other applications.
Yeah, no, she's our consultant too, and she'll be reviewing
Right.
it.
Yes, and I think you're well served to have her provide you with some guidance as to how to effectively mitigate the disturbance that you're proposing in the buffer area.
We fully intend to do that, and that would be coordinated between her and between Beth Evans and the landscape architect, Jane Johnson. So we do fully intend to do that.
Okay, so will you be ready for a public hearing on April 22nd, which is our next meeting?
We can, it just depends on whether or not you want us to be submitting the revised documentation by then, as far as the perk tests, or if we can go forward with this and then supplement after. That's the only question. What's the deadline of submission for the 22nd meeting? Sean?
April 8th.
April 8th. It's going to be tight. We're going to make the best effort to revise the plans and resubmit them. The only question is whether or not, weather permitting, if we can get the infiltration and deep hole excavations performed in advance of that. That's based on, that's, weather permissive, so.
I would suggest scheduling the public hearing.
Yeah, I think the perk test and that can be done in parallel, right, Sean?
I think so.
Yep. Okay, great. So is that a motion?
I mean, as long as the applicant wants to, we can prepare a notice right away and get it out there.
I would believe the applicant does want to. He's on right now if he wishes to speak to that. Right?
Yes, thanks, Ralph. Thanks, Sean. I would like to move forward with the public hearing. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll expect you to get your documentation into Sean by the 8th of April. And see you at the next meeting on April 22nd.
Do you need to move for that? Make a motion?
Yep.
So I move that we set the public hearing for our April meeting.
That's Kirsten, and I second. It's Marjorie, and all in favor, Ed?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Matt? Matt?
Sorry about that. Aye.
Okay, terrific. So we'll see you all on the April 22nd.
Thank you very much.
Great,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, last is a preliminary discussion on 14 Clinton, which is a proposed two-family residence. And who is speaking to that?
Hi, good evening. My name is Dina Bellmer Alto. I'm the project manager as well as one of the investors.
I'm sorry, what's your name?
Dina, D-E-N-A, Bellmer Alto.
Okay, it just presents a different name on the Zoom, so thank you.
So a few things that I wanted to bring up that I had heard. First of all, we are the original owners on the property prior to the fire, as well as, up to date. There was no other owners, it was never flipped. So a few little things that I had wanted to bring up, if you don't mind, and I would definitely take any and all recommendations. It's not 20 feet, it's actually 25.7. So I wanted to clarify that. Prior to the fire, we were in the process of doing plans for a renovation, and it was a two-family. Prior to us purchasing it, there was I know it's a C2 district, and it was non-conforming at the time, but there was a variance that was granted, which did make it the two-family. Now, as far as the garage, it's not actually on the outside. If you look at the plans, it's actually inside the house. So in other words, you're raising the house a little bit, and like on your first level, it's actually within the house for two cars.
Right, it's underneath.
Right, exactly. So there's just a couple of things that I did want, I originally was told when we did go for a meeting after the fire that they would grandfather in the fact that there was actually a variance that was won already prior. That's why we were actually building as a two-family again. So I'm a little bit confused as to how things have been changing. Again, I'm very open to suggestions and whatever guidance you can give us. But being I was told that it already had the variance, right, for the two-family in the C2 zone, that we wouldn't have to go through that again.
My understanding, it would be that's a permitted use. Is the variance is more about the minimum lot requirements and the setbacks
Right.
that your variance or the previous variances granted had been for?
She would have to go tomorrow or be able to find out exactly what it was for.
And who communicated that it was grandfathered, and if you have any documentation, paperwork?
It was the meeting that we had with, what's his name? 1 second, let me believe that. No. Back when we first went.
Robert Bishop?
Robert Bishop?
I'm not sure.
I believe that's who it was.
That I think all predates me, so I'm not familiar with that name.
So, I mean, because again, initially, we were going in, when the property was purchased, it was in disarray. So we had gone in for a meeting, you know, we went in, introduced ourselves when we purchased the property. And originally, we were gonna renovate. And it was a 2-family. And then the next thing, after we had the fire, I got the phone call like 2:33 in the morning from the police. Afterwards, after everything was done, and we went in and sat with Robert, and he said that this would be grandfathered in, right, as a 2-family, because the variance was already there. So that's what we were told initially.
The fire was in 2018, is that correct?
Yes. And I'm gonna work on getting all the documents. Do we have them anywhere?
Okay, good evening. My name is Jahira Colombo. I am the architect of record for this application. I prepared the schematic drawings that were handed out as part of the application. On the zoning table, we are able to see that, you know, like Ms. Harris was saying, it's not more about the use, it's more about the, you know, use and area. But what we want to bring to the point is what we are proposing is so much better than what was there before. As Mr. McCartney explained, it was a very dilapidated 2-family home going property line to property line, very poor condition, very small. It was like a complete eyesore. So first I had done, you know, we were preparing plans to go to renovate what was there, but unfortunately the fire happened, and then, you know, these my clients were left with a piece of property that you know, they had already done an investment, and we didn't know, you know, how to proceed. So there were no off-street parking. Now we're proposing to, as Mr. McCarthy was saying, it's a little bit tricky to make, you know, to have your curb cut and all that stuff. We're more than happy to reduce to 1 if the maneuvering is you know, an issue here. And we're basically asking for variances and things that, you know, we have to have it, and it's not that we are taking something that complies and make it an even more non-compliant or increasing degree of non-compliance. We're trying to make something that it's there, that there's nothing we can do about it. Basically, you know, lot frontage, lot width, lot area, there's nothing we can do about it, but try to make something that, you know, would improve the neighborhood, and definitely would improve what was there before. I know we're proposing something going to the property line on one side, but we're proposing you will approve assembly of 2 hours, so it's not ordinary wood that is going to be on that part of the property, because if we think we're dealing here with a lot that's be basically impossible to comply with the setbacks, in the meantime, you know, we're more than willing to provide a fire resistant structure, you know, just to protect the properties that are next to them. So in case, God forbid, of a fire, there would be proper separation between the property lines. And we're more than open to suggestions. Something that we may, give, that we can maybe try is what we're proposing as the front yard. We can definitely push the building back, but being the lot being so narrow, then we're sacrificing all the backyard, which is something that it's what gives a residents the residents feel. It's where most of the people gather, and if we see the properties next, sure, you guys were able to see the survey. They're even further back to the front than what we are proposing. But Mr. MacArthur was saying that he doesn't maybe want to see these full flight of steps going almost 1 foot. Like if we push it back somehow, maybe not to the full 20 feet that's required, but maybe we can find something in between. We can actually, find a gentle enough slope that would put the garage underneath, grade somehow to mask it somehow, but that it would still give, some sort of the front, like we're also very tight here in what percentage of impervious surface, where there's a lot of things in play that, meaning that we're dealing with a lot that is not even 3,000 square feet. It's tricky to make all the dimensions work. And again, these are things that my clients, they already had purchased the property, and there are things that we cannot play that much about, which is, width and depth and a square foot of the lot.
Okay, thank you for the background. Ms. Colombo and Ms. Aldo, have you guys designed or built other homes or projects in
Yes,
Sleepy
I have.
Hollow?
Oh, not in Sleepy Hollow, no.
No. This is my first time. So, I'm here taking names of all the consultants and everything. So we're more than willing, to suggestions. And this is a process, it's a new process. And we're actually very excited and happy because everybody has been more than willing to help us. And we're looking to do something nice here. And I'm sure you guys have seen pictures of what was there, and what was there was not nice at all.
No.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure we will make things work. Suggestions are more than welcome. We can start from scratch and then make something nice that would improve the neighborhood.
Okay, well, we certainly welcome that property being developed and new housing stock being made available in Sleepy Hollow. It sounds like it was a smaller footprint, but you're saying that the prior to family was also kind of edge to edge?
Yes, pretty much. It was not that far back, but it was edge, more or less edge to edge. We're like at the front and at the sides, more or less keeping at the same footprint, but ours is pushed back a little bit so that we can have, an adequate, 2 bedrooms. It's not even a 3 or 4 bedroom. It's a modest 2 bedroom that would, be pretty similar in size to other houses. And whatever was there was like, not complying as well in terms of the setbacks from the side yards, but also has no off-street parking, which is, besides the quality of a new development, it's something that we have to offer. We're actually proposing to offer.
Well, as Kirsten says, I think we do have to do a referral to the zoning board for a number of reasons. How much have you met with Sean and his team? It sounds like you're looking for guidance, but are you looking for guidance on the setbacks or the design, or you're just trying to facilitate getting this through both boards.
Yes, if we can actually, I'm gonna see if we can do like a Zoom meeting with Mr. McCarthy to see his recommendations. We're willing to you know, lay back a little bit on all the items that we actually can, which is based on the table, what we're proposing and what's existing. What I see that we could do is basically the front yard. In regards to the sides, there's basically nothing that you know can be done. Otherwise, we're gonna end up with a 10 feet wide building, which is useless unless it's a storage. So you know, we could do, and actually that's the only one I think if we give it, like, we are left with the ones that we can work with, because the rest of them, like, you know, lot width or lot depth, there's no choice on our side. But the rest of them, you know, the rear yard, the building height, off-street parking requirements, all of that, lot coverage, you know, we are proposing a building that would comply as of right within the zoning regulations.
I think one particular concern is that you only have 6 inches from your building to the property line. But as Ms. Aldo said, the property width is actually 25.7 feet. So it seems that you could actually create a little bit more distance to the property line.
Yeah, we can definitely try to do that. So I would talk to Mr. McCarthy to see, you know, what is more important, like give more distance to the property line and probably lose one off-street parking space, or you know, we can put things in a balance and see what is more important, and then we can definitely work. And because if and my plans, let me see, share screen. I'm not very as good as you guys on this. Let me see if I can do it. I have like a simple layout here.
And is this going to be modular or stick built?
This could be a stick building. I'm very excited to be working in Sleepy Hollow. This is the first one I'm actually going to be doing something ground up. And I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay. So this is a simple schematic plans, just to give you an idea. We are so very tight to the right side, and that has to do with having you know, an entryway and your stairs going up and having the width of 2 rooms. Otherwise, we would have to end up with like a railroad type of building. So that's why we propose like a 2-hour, you will approved 2-hour rated firewall on the right side, which actually has on the right, I believe it's like a commercial property with like I think it's a mechanic shop, and the building is set back all the way to the back. So it's not like we're facing another residence on the right side and they have like windows and anything like that. So maybe want to take that into consideration, because to keep my footprint smaller, instead of having like to go like into a hallway or corridor with rooms in a railroad kind of way, maybe having them side to side and thinking that, you know, it's like and then a car repair shop on the right, so it's actually not disturbing any residents. And at the same time, keeping it at the front would give those, you know, noise and smell and all that stuff. Keep it in the back, away from the proposed residence.
It would be helpful if you could provide a rendering that shows this design relative to the other buildings on the street.
Absolutely. Yeah, but we're actually going to be pretty much, what we're proposing is going to be almost pretty much same size with the house that's on the left, and on the right side is this repair shop. I say repair shop because there were cars parked on the front and being fixed. So you know, I would say, you know, I'm going to talk to Mr. McCarthy to see what would be better and what would make you happier. It's like to see this, at the front aligned with the properties, with the residential line, or, if we push it back and, we're gonna be talking about those points, and we'll probably prepare more schematics. And then once we have, like, we feel like this may be a goal, then we'll move on to the renderings, and we'll show blocks, even massing of the buildings that are within the property lines.
Hey, Sean, do you know what is the neighbor on the right?
Sure, it's a automotive repair shop.
Yes, yes. So I was thinking I was more lenient to keeping it to the front, so these bedrooms are not, next to the, it's actually more private towards the front of the lot than towards the back, because they have their repair shop there.
And so that's some of the stuff that, I think the village in general would encourage you to look at. Not believe it or not, although we do have zoning and zoning requirements, we want you to look at it to fit better with the existing character of the neighborhood. And we actually do have provisions that would allow you, without a variance, to align the new structure with the adjacent structure, or something, an average setback between those. So there are opportunities to modify your plan that may not necessarily comply with the strict regulations of the zoning, but maybe a better plan overall for that neighborhood. And that's what the planning board could look at. But yeah, we'll definitely meet with you and go over some of these options and
absolutely
fine tune it.
Absolutely. I mean, we're eager to make this, to improve the neighborhood and improve that what was there. And, we're open to any suggestions you may have, so this would be our first little baby in Sleepy Hollow. Who knows? Maybe we get to do a few more, and maybe we get lots that are better size. So
Where
we can
have
comply with everything.
where have your other projects been developed, Ms. Colombo?
Yeah, I have a few small new buildings in the city, mostly in the Bronx. And we're working in one in New Rochelle. In the Bronx, about, 7 or 8 new buildings. And there it's like, 25 feet lots, 17 feet lots, row houses. So, we work mostly on making the structure fire resistant and building with brick, because there we don't have that much choice for having setbacks like here.
Okay, so it sounds like you've got experience working with kind of confined spaces. So.
Yes. Definitely. They give us a 18 by 70 lot. You just build me a house, and you say, how am I gonna make it work? You learn to make it work because the house next door is the same size.
Yahira Allard, I believe, was the most difficult we've done in New Rochelle. Allard was a big challenge. I think you did amazing with that.
Thank you, Dina. Nice to have you on my side.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing your ideas. And Sean, what do you think in terms of next steps?
I mean, we'll keep it on the agenda and see if we can make some improvements between now and the next meeting. I don't necessarily know if a referral should be made yet until it's fine tuned.
I just had a couple comments to make, and I'm sure you'll discuss in more detail with Sean, but in terms of what's to the left of that lot is 2 smaller structures. So when thinking about keeping in the context of that street and the existing fabric, I think what you're proposing, while you gain on-site parking, you're going to end up losing 2 on-street parking. So it's going to be kind of a wash, and it's going to be different from the character of the other houses on that street. So I don't know
if it's worth it, what we're trying to, yes, yes.
Right, it's
so-
because you also have to raise up the house a lot versus having the ability to be kind of lower with that
Absolutely.
front porch that the other houses have. So just things to
Exactly.
consider.
Okay.
And it
okay.
does sound like you have experience with tight lots. I was gonna say, we had another project recently on Hudson Street that was an infill project of a similar lot size. Just that if you wanted
I
to. see-
wrote down, okay.
Yeah, but
I wrote down the address because I'm telling Dina, you have to go and get me those plans tomorrow.
Well, I will go tomorrow.
I'm writing
My
names
husband's
and
there.
everything, everybody. I tell them we have to make this work. Everybody, everybody come with more experience, the other presenters, but we're open to suggestions and we're open to learn, and we'll do whatever it takes to make a proper development.
Yeah, no, I think the infill is great. We definitely need more housing in Sleepy Hollow, so it's good.
Yeah, in that area, I think like a small two bedroom, nothing crazy, affordable. It would be very good. And it's true about the parking. So you want to make it maybe, what you were mentioning, Kristen, about, aligning maybe the porches. That's something we will definitely look into. So we'll see maybe with Mr. McCarthy when we can do like another meeting, and maybe with you, maybe the three of us, and plans. I can draw for full sizes and you can scribble it like my 3-year-old, and I'll be more than happy.
Going back to the Hudson Street project, that actually, even though it was a very tight space, they did modular construction. We were fascinated to, watch that because it was such a, tight parameter. But it's something you might want to consider because, as I understand it, it might be more affordable, it's quicker and
control conditions.
Exactly, higher quality. So just a suggestion.
Perfect. We'll look into that too. I think we have talked about that, but
I would be open to it, definitely.
Okay, well, we'll keep it on the agenda. Anything else, Kirsten? Did you have any other points or?
Not at the moment.
Anyone else? Ed? Okay. So we'll keep talking, I guess.
Yes, definitely. We will communicate. We'll get Kirsten's and Mr. McCarthy's email, and we'll see what would be the best way that we can maybe have another meeting and with their suggestions on the design, and then we'll keep doing improvements.
Terrific. Okay, great. We'll see you again when you're ready.
Yes. We'll let you know, and then we'll bring everything up. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Did anyone have comments on the minutes from the prior meeting?
No comments.
No comments.
Okay. Someone want to make a motion to accept the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes from last meeting.
I second. All in favor? Tom?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Okay, the minutes have been accepted and approved and adopted. And again, I want to thank Tom for his service to the planning board. We'll miss you.
I'm sure you will all see me around and in meetings just on the other side of the bench.
All right, terrific.
It's been a pleasure working with all of you, of course.
Good luck.
Likewise, and congratulations to Jared as well. And with that, I move to end our meeting. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, we have everyone seconded it, so everyone's in favor. Okay, terrific. Have a good evening and good month, and we'll see you on April 22nd.
Take care.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Have a good night.
Night.
Thanks,
Congrats,
everyone. Good
Tom.
night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.